do you have like a best memory as a little kid when you were little that you remember that you think about?
Okay.
You just let it rip.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do it.
You're on.
Oh, best memory. One of my best memories was my dad took my friend Mark and I to the Pontiac Silverdome, which no longer exists. We raced in the BMX National Finals. And it was just so much fun being with him, of course. And at the hotel, everybody was riding their bikes around and jumping in the pool.
How old were you?
Probably 11.
Really?
And then we went to this, I still remember the name for some reason, this pizza place called Pipes and Things. And when you went inside, it was like all these like big cathedral pipe organ pipes that they had repurposed. And they played all this kind of piccolo music. And
nice.
And they had chili pizza.
Really?
And I was like, man, we got to try that. And it was unbelievable.
At 11 years old, you're just pounding the chili pizza.
Getting after it for sure. And then we raced at the Pontiac Silverdome the next day. And, I'm up against people from all over the country. And I think I got fourth place or something like that. But it was just so much input because there was also on the other side of the stadium was a motocross racing as well. So it was just a really cool time. I was just always remembered that. That's very, very cool. Fondly.
So did you go try to get pro or anything?
No, I never tried to get pro.
No.
But I raced all over Northeast Ohio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of bike did you have?
I had a GT.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because I remember the Haros, the Red Lines.
Oh, sure. Red Line was big. Haro was kind of, it was just the kind of the beginning of the freestyle movement, if you will. But this is when classic BMX racing was still.
So you did that all through high school?
I did it for about 5 years, from about 9 till 14.
No, no kidding.
Something like that. And then you got mopeds. Mopeds were big around.
Oh, so you went into the motor.
Yeah.
Nice. And then you got through high school. And you did high school here?
I did high school. Yeah, I went to Solon High School.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
And then after high school, what'd you do?
I went to college with Kent State.
Nice.
And after I graduated there, I went to Booth, Pittsburgh.
What's in Booth, Pittsburgh?
My oldest sister lives there.
Okay.
And I thought, I just kind of need to get out of town, get like a fresh start kind of thing. And, excuse me, got a job in IT.
Nice.
For this company, and I worked for them for, 10 years, 15 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And then, how old were you then? So that would be, what,
I was
35?
probably 29.
Okay. And you're still in Pittsburgh?
Still in Pittsburgh, and then I got transferred back to Cleveland. And then my oldest brother, asked me to join the family company.
Your family company?
Yeah.
So you're pretty close with your family, your sister, your brother?
Yeah.
And your dad?
There's 5 of us.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so there's 3 boys and 2 girls.
And they're all local?
Except for Moira. She lives in Pittsburgh still, but the others are all local. Yeah.
So everybody likes the Rust Belt kind of thing, or just want to stay together?
I traveled a lot.
I gotcha.
In my previous computer days. I mean, I don't think there's many states I haven't been to. I think Cleveland, Midwest is the place. It's got everything. People are super nice.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I mean, I know it's not Canada, but...
Who do you think your biggest influence was growing up?
Probably my dad.
How come?
He, he's kind of old. They're kind of old school. My parents are British. So they were born and raised there, and then my dad emigrated here in his early 20s. And, he's just, he was a good example. Work hard, be social, get involved in life. And that kind of stuff. He was always a good dad.
Yeah. And he lived here the whole time?
Well, we moved back and forth to England a couple times.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah. So I lived in England I think we left when I was about 8 months old till I was about 3.
Oh, wow. Where'd you live?
We lived in just outside Manchester, a place called Glossop.
Oh, cool. So you went back and forth to...
Oh, yeah, for a couple times.
Cleveland to
Manchester.
Yeah. That's a big jump.
Yeah, it is. And we've got relatives all over. I've got relatives in Australia, England.
Oh, no kidding.
Ireland.
Oh, wow.
Well, my dad's lineage, his mom and dad were born in Ireland.
Okay.
So we've got quite a little mix.
Hence the clover there.
Yeah, for sure.
So your dad, growing up, you're in Pittsburgh, then you come back to Cleveland.
Pardon me.
You come back to Cleveland.
Yes.
And then you started building a little family of your own?
I lived in Lakewood for about a year, and then I bought a house here in Chagrin, actually just up the street.
Oh, okay.
And I met my former spouse in Cleveland.
Gotcha.
And we're married for about 12, 13 years and had 3 amazing kids.
Yeah. What are your kids? You got 3 kids. What are your kids' names?
Henry, who's 16, Phoebe, who's 14, and Oliver, who's 11.
Do you have, what's your favorite memory of Henry?
All of them. That's a great question. I mean, there's just so many of them.
So what was your favorite age? Mine was always 4 for my kids. I loved 4.
I'd say 4, 5,
yeah,
6. They just, they start getting that personality.
Yeah.
And that's when they really kind of start being little people.
Yeah.
And Henry's, I think all my kids are old souls.
Yeah.
But Henry's an old soul for sure.
What do you mean by that?
He's just very mature and empathetic. He just kind of understands people, and he asks you questions, and has the ability to see, if things are going okay or not okay.
He can recognize when people are struggling or whatever.
For sure. And he's there to help. Excuse me.
What about the traits of your daughter? What do you admire about those?
Phoebe, she's awesome. She's very social. She doesn't have a fear bone in her body, which concerns me a little bit. But she's just very, she's so positive, and she's always willing to try. Everything's a yes. And she's, daddy's little girl.
And then the little one.
Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver.
Oliver's a little quieter.
Surprisingly, compared to the other 2? Or?
I don't know. I don't know if I would say surprisingly. He just seems so, the more kids you have, the more you realize how different they are.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're the same parents, same brother and sister, they're going to be kind of alike.
Yeah.
But it's not the case. I mean, I look at my brothers and sisters and we're all quite different. So it's interesting.
So he's quiet. He's 11?
He's 11.
So he's going into 4th grade?
He's in 5th.
5th grade.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
And so they all go to Chagrin?
They all go to Chagrin, yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So 3 kids, then you got hit with what you're going through now. You want to elaborate a little bit about how this all happened?
No.
Okay. That's fine.
No. I think I'm going to paint with a wide brush, but I think a lot of the guys kind of, not macho per se, but we like to be, there's a denial factor. So about a year before I was diagnosed, I was having some symptoms. And do you want to know what those are?
You could feel free.
Okay. So I started having some bleeding from my backside. And
how long ago was this?
So I was diagnosed in December 2017.
Okay.
Excuse me. So about a year before that.
So a year before you had the symptoms.
Yeah. So I lost control of my waterworks a little bit,
Sure.
a couple times. So I was like, that's not normal.
How old were you?
47?
47.
Yeah.
So it's 27. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I said to my doctors, I called him, and I said, you know, it got to the point where I was getting nervous. So he said, come on in. And he did a battery or a blood test, every blood test ever, of course. And they found that I had something called candidus, which is like a yeast infection overgrowth in your intestinal tract. And this is before one of my Velasano rides.
Oh.
So he gave me this prescription. I forgot what this stuff was called, but I had to take it for a month, and it was to kill all that bacteria and stuff in my gut. So he did that, and I did that, sorry. And then the symptoms seemed to kind of go away. So I'm like, phew, okay.
Yeah.
And then I did my ride for Velasano. And then about a month or so later, it came back with a vengeance. So I called him again and I said, Dan, this isn't...
Even after all those blood tests, that was just the one thing, kind of like, take this.
Yeah.
He thought he wouldn't hear from you again, kind of thing.
Yeah. So he's like, we got to get you in for a colonoscopy right away. Now, mind you, getting an appointment for a colonoscopy is tantamount to going to the dermatologist. I mean, it's so hard to get in there.
Really?
So I go and get my test, and my mom took me, and I remember going into, and I was nervous for obvious reasons, because we have a family history of it. So I go in, you pull those cubicle curtains closed on the patient room, and I'm waiting to get my colonoscopy. And he said, now, see this spot on this curtain, see how they're ruffled? And he goes, now cancer can hide inside these ruffles, so sometimes we don't always find it. I'm like, kind of a bit of a quick start in the conversation, but I said, okay. And so he wheeled me into the room, and I think I recall, because they give you Twilight, if you like, which I liked. And he says, he wasn't in there very long. He's like, oh boy. And I'm like, did that guy just say, oh boy? So they fiddled around a little bit more, if you will, and they found this little spot. So I think at that time it was like a stage 2 to 3. So he goes out and tells my mom, who subsequently freaks out. And then when I finally came to, he tells me, it's not a good day. So, so the first thing I had to do is I had to do radiation and chemotherapy side by side.
So when he told you and your mom, did you go home?
Oh yeah, no, I went home.
Yeah.
Went home and then had another doctor's appointment.
And then they said, we got to get you into chemo.
We got to get you into a treatment program.
Okay.
So it was about a third of the way up. And they suggested the course of treatment to be radiation, because they want to shrink it, try to kill it as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then the issue is, if it grows into the wall surrounding it, it becomes a 3. And then if it gets like into your lymph nodes and travels, it's a stage 4. So it had started to just kind of grow into the wall. So it was kind of between a 2 and a 3. So they said, we're going to do radiation. We want to isolate it. So I had to do radiation and chemo at the same time, side by side, for, I think, 6 weeks, I think.
So can you compare it to what you went through ever before that, and pain and like, obviously you didn't wipe out on a motorcycle and have to go get surgery or something. Like, is there anything?
Well, I've wiped out before. I've wiped out plenty.
Can you compare, like, for folks that haven't gone through that? What is there anything you can say that even somebody could sympathize, empathize?
You know, the issue is kind of that there's no real pain, and that's what's very difficult about cancers in some respect, because it's not, you know, you can have kind of some outlying pain associated with surgeries and that other kind of stuff, but in and of itself, it didn't hurt. But the treatments, like the radiation, it would make your lower region a little tender.
Okay.
Particularly when going to the bathroom.
Were you lightheaded, or how does that work? Is it
So
just dizzy?
You get on this machine,
Yeah.
and for me, I had to lay face first, and then they would put a cheese wedge shaped foam piece, so my backside was facing up. And then what you do at the beginning is you actually go and you get fitted. So they take you in there, they drop your stuff, and they put tattoos where they're going to aim. So one on my right hip, one on my left hip, and one at the very top of my butt, if you will. That's the medical term. So they know where to aim the laser. So, they'd zap you. So that whole area gets in, but the skin around there got very, very tender and really, really ouchy. And so, but like I said, I've been going to the bathroom, 1 or 2 was no pleasure boat cruise. That's for sure.
And how long was this trip?
Like expelling glass.
And how long did this last?
About 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yeah. And
so
also,
every night, every day.
And also, it kind of took away your response time.
Oh, so you can't just casually go to the bathroom when you wanted to.
I mean, we'll be sitting here like this, and I'll be like,
gone.
Yeah, I can't even say I gotta go. I'm already gone.
Yeah, well, makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was 8 weeks, and then did you sleep?
Sleep during cancer is tough. Because you get a lot on your mind.
Yeah.
Obviously. But I seem to sleep okay. But then I was also taking the chemo, which makes you feel not very good.
So you just like a flu feel, or?
I'm sorry?
Does it feel like a flu, or?
I think other cancer patients would agree that you can't possibly describe what it's like until you've had it. I mean, it's an overall bad feeling.
That was 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And
then I had surgery.
And then you had surgery.
Then I had surgery to take it out.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, and I had started as rectal cancer. So what they did is they went in and they cut out my rectum, about 75% of it.
And this was after 8 weeks, and then right away, or?
No. In between. Good question. So after surgery and chemo, you had to wait at least a minimum of 6 weeks, because chemo doesn't help in the healing process of skin because it's so strong, probably for other reasons as well. So I had to wait, I think, another 8 weeks to get scheduled to have surgery. So anyway, that time went by. And
were you starting to feel better, like physically better, sleeping better, or bathroom?
You need about 7 to 10 days after your last chemo treatment to feel relatively normal.
So 2 weeks.
There's a bit of a washout there, yeah.
Yeah.
So then I had my surgery first, by the way, to remove my rectum, and it took about 1.5 feet of sigmoid colon.
What's a normal size? Is that 2 feet?
It's about 2 feet.
Okay.
So, about that much rectum, about that much stuff, sigmoid colon. Because they want to make sure that it's gone.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it grows into things.
Yeah.
The issue being, if you can avoid it, which you can't, once it gets into your, what's that? Adrenal system, not adrenal system. What is it?
Lymph nodes?
Once it gets into your lymph nodes, thank you. It's a crazy long system. I don't pretend to know a lot about it, but I think it's a system that goes from your bottom to your top. So, post-op review, 3 of the 31 lymph nodes were positive for cancer. So, and he took most of those out. But that stuff travels. So I again had the surgery. They gave me an ileostomy. And basically what they do to kind of get you replumbed, they take your colon and they reattach it during that first surgery to the rectum. And then once everything heals, they just reverse it and you can go to the bathroom like you used to. So I got an ileostomy, which is up by your ileum. It's either an ileostomy or a colostomy. And basically what they do is they go in and they cut a hole about 2 inches around, and then they pull out your colon, and then they pull it out, and then they flip it upside. Then it's called a loop ileostomy. So they pull it out and they actually put a peg in there at the beginning, and then they cut it, and then they fold it back, and they stitch it to your stomach.
Wow.
And so when you go to the bathroom, it goes into this ostomy. So the ostomy's got a flange on it like this, and it sticks to your skin, and then there's a bag.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So when you go to the bathroom,
the bag works.
It just goes in the bag,
Safe.
and you change it. And, dude, there's a million configurations. So it was supposed to be temporary. Supposed to be. And so that, there I was. I was set to heal, blah, blah, blah. And then, so that was last spring.
So from your diagnosis to last spring, that was as over a year and some.
Correct.
So 52 week, 66 weeks or something.
Correct. So I was finished, and then they wanted me to do a little bit more chemo. And then, so I started doing chemo again because I like it so much. And I started getting sick.
What's sick?
I started getting jaundice.
Oh, interesting.
So what happened is my main biliary duct, which is about yay big, around my liver, was getting clogged. We believe it was because of the chemo. So one of the GI guys who chimed in, Dr. Michael Pollack, who's a rock star in my eyes, put a stent in there and cleaned it out, and it was better. But I ended up missing Velisano that year, Velisano 5, which was last year, yeah. So in an effort to make good, I had my own Velisano right here in Chagrin.
Nice.
So I ended up getting a lot more people than I thought. I ended up getting about almost 40 people to ride with me, to ride the miles that I said that I was going to do, because I was in the hospital during the first one. So we rode came up with their own 50-mile, actually it was 55, trek to just keep on
That's
working
awesome.
on cancer research.
Where'd you go?
We basically went out to like Hiram
Yep.
and around Burton and then back.
Is that like all you guys were on the road?
Oh yeah.
So that would have been a cool sight to see that.
Yeah, it was
Peloton.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hilly. People don't realize how hilly it is.
Oh, hey, I know. Hey, I'm a fan of Old Mill.
I wanted to do. Originally, I thought I might do the original course.
Yeah.
From downtown where we started before, but it's just too much traffic and too much maintenance.
Yeah.
So we did it out here.
That's great.
And
this was in late spring?
This is late summer.
Late summer.
This might have been August, September.
Gotcha.
I don't remember the exact date at the moment. So we did that. I raised a bunch of money for cancer research.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because cancer is not a fan.
No.
Not a fan. So I went to, everything was fine for a while. And then in October, I was having a surgery to reverse everything. So they wanted to take some more. They wanted to take out my gallbladder because I was still having these jaundice issues. And the GI guy's like, I can see some debris in there and it's always getting full. I think the gallbladder's causing issues. So I got scheduled for surgery and I said to my colorectal guy, I said, can you do two at the same time? I said, oh, yeah. I said,
I'm already here.
Well, I'm already here. I'm all dressed up and ready to go. And, I don't want to have two surgeries if I can have one. So he said, well, I'm not really authorized to do that. I said, well, I'd rather get someone who's authorized. He said, all right. He goes, I'll find somebody. So it ends up, the guy who took it out is now a friend of mine because my youngest Oliver's in the Boy Scouts and his kid's in the Boy Scouts. So I'm like, who's going to go first? And he goes, I don't know. I said, well, you guys better figure it out. I said, I think that you should go first. So I think this is I'm hoping it's a little divine intervention. So, because he ended up going first. And this surgery, this was my expectation. I'm going to go in, I'm going to wake up. I'm not going to have a gallbladder. I'm going to miss you. But I'm not going to have an ileostomy anymore. Go to surgery. And I wake up in the recovery in my room. And the colorectal guy's like, he had a look on his face like, I'm like, well, that's not a happy face. And he said, when Dr. Bankseth went in there, they found that the cancer had spread. So it had spread to my peritoneal cavity, which is the cavity between your belly button and your chest plate that kind of keeps all your all your organs in place. And he said it's all over the place.
This was when was this?
October.
October
Of
2018.
So I was.
So how many surgeries had you done?
Oh, I'm not sure. Let's count.
Too many. So then in October he says, we got new trouble. What'd you do? What'd you say then?
I didn't have a lot to say at that moment. I was like, do you one of those beep machines? Beep, 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 beep. That's what I said.
I got you.
Right? So I had to find a way to, this is now round 2. So I had to find a way to do something about it. So I talked to a buddy of mine, and he recommended I go see the only surgeon at this institution that did this surgery. And so we went and met with him. And he had not just started doing it, but there was someone who did it before him. He left, and now he was doing it. And, the long and short of it is, he said, we'll try chemo. And if it shrinks it, we'll do this surgery called HIPEC. HIPEC stands for, I might not get it 100% right, but hypointraperitoneal chemotherapy. So basically what they do is they cut you from your breastbone down to your pubic area, and they kind of peel everything back. And then they go and they scrape and burn all the cancer out wherever they can find it. So that was very unpleasant. It's like one of the most invasive surgeries that is, as far as I know.
So when was this?
I went and met with him.
Oh, right away.
I went and met with the surgeon. And, but he said, if it doesn't work. And I said, well, yeah, what if it doesn't work? And he said, well, what are we talking about longevity? He said, I'd probably give you 12 months. That was a bad day.
Were you alone? Was your mom with you?
No, my older sister went with me this time. And I was like, oh, what do you do when someone tells you that you got 12 months to live? That's not cool. So I was pretty upset, and I called a friend of mine who was a surgeon at this institution, and I'm like, Andy, man, I just got handed a plate of crap, He said, well, let me suggest that you go somewhere else. So I ended up going to New York. So I went to New York. He got me an appointment with this guy 3 days later, which was fabulous. And he was like, I'm going to take care of you. Well, that's all I needed to know, right? It's all about the attitude. You want that positivity if you can. My back's up against the wall. So I went and had surgery in New York March 12th, and had more chemo leading up to it because we had to try to shrink it so that they could operate. So I had surgery March 12th, and instead of it being a 5-hour surgery, it was an 11-hour surgery. I mean, I'm like the king of setbacks. I mean, I don't understand. I don't know if I ran over a squirrel or something, or pushed some old lady or something at some time, but man, I'm getting punched. So I get out of surgery, and it was brutal. I had all kinds of complications. I went into AFib, and I had just lots of issues. It was a tough one. So I finally get well enough to go to leave the hospital. Now, upon their suggestion, they said, we need you to stick around for a few weeks because there's a lot of complications, infections, you name it. So we had rented an apartment just up the street from the hospital. And I was there one night, and I came home, or I woke up the next morning, and the visiting nurse came. And he's like, how you feeling? And I said, no. I feel, okay. But I was on all kinds of painkillers and all that kind of stuff, so couldn't have been feeling that bad. I said, but it's my abdomen. It's a little bit, it feels sore. He goes, well, let's take a look. So I pulled up my shirt, and my entire wound had degrissed and pulled apart, which is bad. So he called over there, and they immediately shuttled me back into emergency surgery. And then I spent the next 8-9 weeks on my back trying to recover from this surgery.
At the hospital?
At the hospital. Which, those hospital beds are the worst.
especially 9 weeks.
I lost 53 pounds.
In 9 weeks.
All my muscle, everything was gone. As a matter of fact, when I got home, I could barely walk up the stairs. Absolutely terrible. So, and I have this big wound on the front of my abdomen. So I'm trying to get better. Following the rules. I'm doing my exercises. I'm taking my meds, trying to put weight back on. And, it was kind of a joint venture between Cleveland and New York institutions. And I went to, I had to go back to the hospital about 3-4 weeks ago because I couldn't breathe. And it was a Sunday morning. I remember the kids were over and I had to have Henry take the other two back to their moms. And my girlfriend Sarah took me to Hillcrest. And it turns out, I don't know if something popped or whatever it is, but my entire left lung was filled with fluid. And they proceeded to siphon out 4 liters of liquid. And he's like, man, this is crazy. I can't believe you even made it. So they took that all. So now so they put it in a tube to drain us. And now I have what they call a Plerex catheter installed in my side to drain out any excess fluid. Well, I haven't yielded much after that first couple of initial washes, so I'm hoping that this week they take it out.
Yeah.
But during this last visit, I had to go this past week because I had a really high fever. I had a fever of 103 and some change, so I ended up having an infection in my main bile duct. So I had an ERCP, which I can't remember what it stands for, but they basically flip you upside down and they go in with a scope through your mouth, esophagus, stomach, into your liver, and then they clean out this bile duct because it was all blocked up. I was jaundiced, I was yellow, the whole shooting match. And they cleaned it all out. And that seemed to be a little bit better. But then they said that when they took a CT, that the disease was on the move again. So I've been kicked 3 times already in a row. So it's getting to be a little bit, it's tough.
Do you have a lot of support, like with the clinic or UH or?
With the clinic. Yeah, they've been very, very good. Very good. And I've got my support group here is excellent. I'm very, very fortunate.
You got people coming over and.
Oh yeah, I have a home care nurse, Kathy. She's fabulous. But just when I think I've won a small victory, it just keeps coming up and biting me in the ass.
So you're on round 3?
This is my third, yeah.
So how long does this last?
Well, so I started chemo last Thursday. So yeah, so not 2 days ago, but the Thursday before. So I don't remember, I got 4 or 5 days in, and then this happened. So they took me off of it. Chemo really messes with you, with your system.
I can't imagine.
It's terrible stuff.
So your inner dialogue in your head for the last 2 years. I mean, is there you went from pissed to frightened to? Is there a path that you could see? Like,
not even a question. It's a grieving process, is what it is. I was mad, and then I was sad. I found myself being a little mad this week, just in my own space. It's frustrating because, I hate to say this is an advantage, but I've always been a believer that things happen for a reason. And there's things in life that you can control, and there's things that you can't. Now, take this as you will. I'm kind of a man of faith a little bit. And, in my mind, God's got a plan for me. I don't know what it is, and I don't really care. I don't really care for the current plan as it goes. But I'm going to accept that what's going on is laid out, and I can't do a darn thing about it. So I'm just going to kind of put it in his hands and let him deal with it, and I'm just going to try to do the best that I can to get through this. I mean, it's hard.
Are you an inspiration to a lot of people in your support group? And
I don't know. I'm just a regular old guy. Whether I am or not, I'm not sure.
Have you, did you think you were tougher than you really were? Like, you're like, man, I'm pretty tough. Like, I can take this, and then now I can take this, and then
I was surprised. I've always kind of regarded myself a little bit, and this is a term I heard recently, as a bit of a silent warrior. I'm not very flamboyant. I'm not like, hey, look at me, and blah, blah. It's like riding. That's why I love to ride. It's just, you get out there and you grind it. And, like I said, I've done this Velosano event for 4 years. And I remember the first year, just blistering rain for 110 miles. And it's like, it's very kind of secluded and lonely out there on the road. Not lonely, but it's, you ride. It's your own place of solace. And, you see some of these hills. I'm like, are you kidding me? But I'm kind of like, let's go. And so I just keep pushing. I'm a little competitive when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm not going to let it stop me until it stops me.
I mean, I know you're obviously an inspiration to your kids, and you're showing what strength and courage looks like. I mean, your spirit is...
Well, I'm trying to do it with some dignity, too.
Yeah, I think you're passing the mark on that. I mean,
thanks.
I mean, you still have your sense of humor, which is fantastic.
You got to have a sense of humor, man. That's one of my things.
But yeah, you're hitting it hard, and you're taking it with grace. What do you besides the obvious, what do you worry about? Like,
I worry about my kids. That's it. I mean, it's not the only thing, but I want to be here. That's it. And it's so far, it's, pardon me. The good thing is pardon me, the good thing there hasn't been that much pain that keeps me from doing stuff, but it's just, it's like everywhere I turn, I get these little setbacks. And I want to be able to, I just want to be able to do some stuff that I used to do. I want to go ride my bike. I want to play a game of golf. I want to go for a nice walk. I mean, walking up the stairs I get tired and have to like sit on the bed for a few minutes to catch my breath. That's not who I am. You know, I used to run half marathons and bike races and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Were you fast?
Well, the Olympic Committee hasn't called yet, but I'm still waiting for that call. You know, I did it for my own.
Yeah.
Because I could, or I thought I could, and I did. You know, back to what you were saying before, sometimes we don't realize how tough we are until we have to be tough. And remember I ran my first half marathon in Nashville. I was supposed to go with some people and didn't end up working out, and I ended up being the only one. They're all, you're still going? I'm like, yeah, I don't need you to run with me, right? So I went, and I didn't know a soul, of course.
Yeah.
And I did it. And the race finished in the Titans Stadium.
Oh, cool.
Kendall, I felt amazing after I crossed that line. I mean, thousands of people. Right? You've been there.
And obviously you're running high kicks and you're looking sharp, perfect form.
Absolutely.
Not about mile 10, probably not as...
You know, I can see it right now, right in my mind. It was coming under an underpass, and it started to slope up, and it was an elevation, and it said mile 10. And mile 10, there was this big wall, and it was like, boom.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. That was brutal.
Mile 10's always brutal.
Mile 10, wall, hello. Yep.
So where do you ride around here when you were riding strong?
When I ride out towards like Middlefield and Hiram and all those roads. They're a lot quieter.
Yeah. You don't ride like after work and stuff. You're like in the morning.
Oh, no, I ride after work.
Really?
Oh, sure.
You do Chagrin Road in the morning? Road, Chagrin River?
I would do Chagrin River Road, yeah. Yeah.
That's spooky.
I had a little loop out there. Yeah. I think, not sure, but what? Try it again. I'm not quite sure why there's become such an intolerance to bikers. Now, I'm going to be fair, because I like to be fair if I can. You know, there's a state rule, 3 feet.
3 feet, yeah.
3 feet to the left. And, you know, we just want to get a ride in, man. Want to get some exercise, and that's my therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But I also know that there are some riders who don't ride properly.
Yeah.
You got to follow the rules.
Yeah.
So, and I know there's a couple groups that ask me to ride with them, and they ride 2x2. I'm like, that's not safe. I'm not doing
Chagrin River.
Not doing it.
But you get out to Burton. You were riding down Bell? Would you ride up Bell?
Yeah, I'd go up Bell.
That's a pretty ride.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so nice out there. It's quiet.
And then you go to 44?
Go to 44
and then up to Burton.
Yep.
And you get coffee or whatever up there?
Yes. There's a little coffee place right on the north side.
There's a guy I follow. I don't know his name, but I follow him on Strava. And he averages about 400 miles a week.
Cheese and rice. Wow.
He last year, wait for it, 22,000.
That's crazy.
22,000 miles.
Wow.
On his bike.
Yeah.
And that's round year or year round. He gets 70 miles in some of the worst weather, and he must have like amazing tires and stuff. But I thought I was a pretty intense rider.
Yeah.
And then when I see guys like that, they're averaging 70 a day.
That's crazy.
I mean, you get kind of just exhausted.
Nice to find that time.
So, anything else you want to say?
I would say I would say this to anybody who is battling cancer. It's easy to say stay strong, but it's not always easy to stay strong. Keep in touch with yourself. Be your own advocate. And always know that there is hope. And I know, believe me, I've been dark. I've been in some dark places in the last year or so. But there's a lot of good places out there, and there's a lot of good help. These things don't happen because we're bad people or we did something wrong. It just happens. And acceptance is the key. Accept it, hand it off, and move on. And if you have an opportunity that you're feeling good enough to do something, go do it. That's it.
Well, you're the face of strength, my friend, and I am grateful that you came in today. And
thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in.
You bet.
All right, let me cut that.